All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewelz, here for another very special edition of the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. For those who are listening with us and also catching our live stream, thank you. Shout out to you, Smart Jewels. Who are watching and listening with us. We are literally winding down season 4 episodes. And so shout out to all of our wisdom listeners who are also tuning in exclusively, getting some behind the scenes access to our podcast episodes. And so we recently this season started launching our behind the scenes access, exclusive access to our Smart Jewel listeners and supporters. So you can catch us on Wisdom, and also on Clubhouse, and listen to our previous episodes from season 1 of the podcast series all the way now to season 4, you all. And so we put in the work, and so you could definitely go and support us, go listen to us on any podcast or music streaming platform that you listen to. But for those who are joining us for the first time, just to let you know about the RTJ podcast is a lifestyle show, was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so shout out again to all of our millennial and Gen Zers who are our main core supporters. But even if you're not a millennial or Gen Zer, if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for you. And I'm sure you'll be able to catch some jewels of wisdom from our special guests who I'm about to get ready to introduce to you all in 1 second. But if you are interested in being a part of our international tapestry, feel free to click the link that I'm putting in the comment section below in order to sign up with our interest form. And one of our team members will take a look and see if you have what it takes, if you are a dynamic king or a queen with a testimony, or if you are a business owner or just an influencer or a creative. We want to hear from you. And so we appreciate all of our VIP jewels who have been rocking with us for all of the season 4 episodes. We could not have made this show a success without you. And so without further ado, wisdom listeners, if you have any questions for my very special VIP guest that I'm getting ready to bring on, feel free to come to the stage. We're going to be talking about a very popular subject for today's episode. And so if you have any questions, wisdom listeners, feel free to come onto the stage and ask at any time, and my guests will do their best to answer them. And also, if you're just watching the live stream, if you have any comments or questions, just put it in the chat. Y'all know how we do. This is an interactive podcast show and vidcast series. And so we want to hear from you too. And so like and subscribe to us again, and share this content with anyone you know can benefit from today's episode, How to Survive a Lockdown in China. We're going to be talking to one of my dynamic guests that is actually in China, especially is in Shanghai. And so we're going to be letting you hear directly from my special VIP guest on how she has been able to survive this current lockdown that has been in China. And so I'm excited. You all definitely support my special guest who's going to be sharing and being vulnerable with us to tell us all of her jewels, her strategies, and her tips, and even hacks, how she's been able to literally survive this recent lockdown in China. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you all to my special VIP guest, Miss Shamira. Shamira, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We appreciate you coming on, of course, to Run the Jewelz. I know it's in the morning where you are currently right now. And so
Yes.
I'll let you tell our guest, Shamira, let us know where you're tuning in from specifically in China, and also tell us where you're originally from, your hometown, and why this is an important subject that people need to know about, especially us Americans on the Western side of the world today.
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Shamira. I am currently living in Shanghai, China, where the current infamous lockdown is happening. Originally, I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. I lived in Dallas, Texas for about 7 years after graduating university. And now I'm here in Shanghai. And I think this is a very important topic because there are a lot of foreigners and expats living in Shanghai. A lot of Americans who are still here, who have families here, going to school here, or working here, like myself. And I think a lot of people have wrong views about living in China and what it's like because China is so closed off and a lot of people don't understand the country much. So I think this will give everyone in America an idea of what's going on, why I decided to stay here with this craziness, and et cetera, et cetera.
I love it. I love it. And shout out again to those on the eastern side of the world. I know I'm looking even to go over to the east soon, hopefully when things open up fully. And so I know you also, Shamira, are an educator. And so we could start even from that stance. Like, how did you get over to Asia, and even why was Asia your specific location that you wanted to dwell in?
Okay, good. Cool. So, I do not have an educational background. I graduated university with a marketing degree, a bachelor's in marketing. So in order for me to teach English here in China, I actually had to sign up for a certification. It's called ESL or TEFL certification, which qualifies you as an educator to teach English abroad. So it literally took me like 4 weeks to study and take a test, and boom, now I'm an English teacher. And the reason why I decided to do it is because my life in America was just a little crazy. I was looking for a way to travel the world, but also make an income. And I read a bunch of blogs and people who travel normally. And I was just like seeing a lot of teach English abroad, teach English abroad, teach English abroad. And I was like, this is something. How can I do it? And just researched how to get it done, got my certification, and then it was time for job hunting. And China wasn't my number one choice. I actually wanted to teach in Thailand so I could be near the beach and have that island life, but the pay doesn't compare to what you get paid in China. So I decided to go to China, and here I am today. But it was mainly for travel and to make money. That was my main reason to come out here.
I know that's right. Shout out to shout out to Thailand. I've seen and heard beautiful pictures and beautiful stories, especially exciting stories going out to Thailand. And so, shout out to all the Thai listeners, or even some of the Thai friends and family that may be watching. We're here with my very special guest for today's episode, Shamira, who is literally in Shanghai, China currently right now. And she's talking to us about how to survive a lockdown in China. And so again, if you have any questions, wisdom listeners, for my special VIP guest, feel free to ask them at any time of the interview today, because we want to make sure you can get any questions answered, and any questions in the comments for any of our live stream listeners to put it in the comment section. And so, Shamira, like, talk to us about, like, how have you been doing first and foremost? We know we talk a lot about mental health awareness, and even health in physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. But like, how have you been doing since the lockdown first began? And like, tell us what's been going on in your mind, or even in your life since the lockdown.
So when the first announcement came about in March, I really didn't think it was going to last 2 months later. So I wasn't prepared. I bought food to last me 5 days. And then I was like, yeah, this should be good. The lockdown is supposed to end on April 5th, which is what the government said. I should be fine. And so I was relaxed. I was cool. I was like, nothing is going to happen. And at the time of the announcement, I was in my own lockdown. So my building specifically was in a lockdown, so I wasn't allowed to leave my community. But I was okay because I was still able to order food. I was still able to get groceries. So I was super relaxed. I didn't think it was going to last that long. I thought it was only going to be for 5 days. And after the 5 days, and they announced that they were extending it, that's when I panicked because all the stores started to close. There weren't any deliveries. I think I had like 2 gallons of water left. And I was panicking because I was like, I'm going to run out of food. I'm going to starve. I'm going to run out of water. I'm going to be thirsty. But then after a while, I just got used to it. There were days when I was super depressed and I was like, when is this going to end? And there were days when I was super okay. Um, yeah, it was just up and down for me emotionally.
Yeah, I could only imagine, especially when food and water supplies start to run out. I know you've seen the news outlets here in the U.S. when COVID first hit, Shamira, where people were losing their minds and grab toilet paper versus getting food and also liquid and water to survive off of. And so, like, have you heard from any of your friends, any of your colleagues, like, did they also get jammed up with not having enough supplies or resources? And like, how have some of your other individuals that you are in community with been also dealing with the lockdown?
Yeah, so I had friends who like didn't have water and were boiling water. It was really bad. Where we were warned right before coming to China that tap water is just not something you touch here in China. It's very bad, and I had friends who were boiling water at one
Mm.
point. So it was really scary for the first couple of weeks, but then eventually things started to reopen. The government started allowing certain sellers to sell merchandise and products, food products for us. So delivery started to become regular.
Mhm.
However, because we're in a lockdown and things are closed, a lot of people are out of work.
Mm.
So we have these sellers, there's like one or two or three sellers, and they're increasing the prices of products. And then you have people who are out of work and not getting paid. So that was also a struggle, being able to afford the little amount of food that we're able to order.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, especially when it comes to scarce resources, that's something that none of us, especially all over the world, really can know what we're going to do unless we are off the grid living, having our own garden farm that we can literally produce our own produce and literally not have to rely on grocery stores or even stores to access. And so that is something major to even consider. And so, like,
Yeah.
talk to us about like how have you been doing mentally, even, and knowing that, again, are they allowing y'all to know a specific date from when the lockdown is going to be over? How has the channel of communication been? Let people get a inside scoop in what's happening, especially in China, literally on
The
the side.
The line of communicate, well, first I'll answer your first question. Mentally, I've been okay. I have my days where I'm really sad, especially when I hear some of my friends are like, "Hey, I'm leaving next week. I can't take this anymore." And it's just like, "Damn, should I leave too?" And I'm questioning my own goals and what I have for myself and the reason why I stay here because like I think I like 5 of my friends have already left.
Mm.
Um and these were like close friends. So it's sad and but then I have my good days where like last week I was allowed to go outside for the first time in 60 days. So I have ups and downs. So mentally, overall, surprisingly, I've been okay. And I credit the people that I talk to on a daily basis, my family, my friends, and my friends here in China who are also dealing with the same thing. Just communicating with them on a regular basis. That's what's keeping me going. To answer your second question about the line of communication between what the officials are saying and what the people are knowing, the line of communication sucks. Okay. We have to beg for information, especially. So let me break it down for you. You have the government, the top person, and then you have districts. You have district leaders, sub-district leaders, neighborhood leaders. Then you have compound leaders. And when I mean compound, I mean apartment building leaders, right? And each level, everyone is making up their own rules, own restrictions, what that group of people in that district and neighborhood and apartment building can and cannot do. So what I'm experiencing here, like when people are seeing all the news and stuff reported on social media, someone might report, hey, I can't leave my apartment. I haven't been able to leave my apartment in 20 days. That person might be experiencing that, but then over in the next district, another person might be able to go outside every single day. So it all depends on who's managing that district, that sub-district, that neighborhood, that apartment building. So everyone is experiencing something different. No one really knows what's happening. I was able to go outside last week. I have friends who are still locked up in their apartment. So it all depends. And the communication, we don't know what's going on. I remember when the government said we're only going to be on lockdown from April 1st to April 5th. Then that got extended. And then they said by May 1st, we're going to start reopening. That got extended. Now they're saying June 1st. We'll see.
Yeah, that communication line I know is a struggle, and I know we definitely applaud you for hanging in there, because as you said, when your friends are literally leaving and your support system may be shrinking a little bit, that can be difficult for even the best of us, especially you as an educator. And so we definitely want to give you respect and kudos for hanging in there. And even talk to us, Shamira, about like, how has the education system been affected? I know when you and I met, I forgot to mention, I met Shamira on IG, and I was literally finding people that were already in China that looked like myself. And literally I sought after Shamira to get some advice and also some connections to get connected over in China. But how has the education system like changed since this lockdown? Are you online only? Did they give the kids a break off? Like how has the education system shifted recently?
Good question. So there are some people who are online and there's some people who aren't. For me, I don't teach online because legally as a kindergarten teacher, I'm not allowed to. So from age 5 and under, we're not allowed to teach online. It's just you're not allowed to give classwork, homework, anything like that. So my job specifically is to call the parents every day or every other day to check in. So a typical phone call will be like, hey, how are you doing? How is, so-and-so the kid? And just give them advice and support. And also like maybe once a week, send an activity that they can do at home with their kids. So if kindergarten teachers in Shanghai who are working at legit schools, that's a thing. Kindergarten teachers who work at legit schools and follow the rules, we're not teaching online right now. We're not allowed to. Other levels, so primary school, high school, middle school, university, they are online teaching full-time. Full-time. Yes.
Wow. That's definitely a real
China does not close off on education. That stereotype about smart Asians, that is real. Like they're all about their education here.
I definitely was going to be out there, so I know all the folks that want to teach, especially they'll go out to China as one of their top 3 places. And so shout out to all the expats and also educators that are out in Asia currently right now. And so like even as we transition, because I know we only have you for a little bit of time, like how have you seen like any progress with do you find different things to keep the time going? Like give us your hacks of literally surviving a lockdown. Are you reading a lot more? Are you working out? I know you're into personal fitness and health. Like tell us your regimen.
So I think it's important to just have a routine. So in the beginning, I didn't really have one because it was a weird transition from like working full time, being outside, and then all of a sudden being locked in. Right. So it took me a while to get a hang of things, but eventually I got a routine. I get up, I eat breakfast. I don't work out anymore. Only because I don't eat as much as I used to, because of the lack of resources that are available to me. I can't order food as often. So I decided to lower my exercise routine. It's not as intense as it used to be. So I do like yoga. Then I get to work early in the morning. Sometimes, like today, we get tested for COVID and someone knocks on my door. I cook, I clean, I watch movies, TV. I get on the phone with my family and friends. And then maybe I'll do some personal work as well. And that's pretty much my day. And that was my day for a good like 50 something days. And Wednesday, I was allowed to go outside for the first time. And so my routine changed a little where I got up, made breakfast, I waited for my COVID tests, and then I handed my pass and I was able to go outside. I went for a bike ride, met up with some other free friends, and chilled for a couple of hours before coming home.
Wow. Yeah, that's the routine, especially that you got to be in the right regimen in the right time frame, just like you mentioned, so that time doesn't get the best of you, and just not knowing information from the government or municipalities and not having access to when is it going to end. That's very important. Jewels that are listening, to have a routine. But we're going to give you a quick break to catch your breath while we highlight our VIP sponsor for today's episode. Shout out again to our VIP sponsor for today. We highlight a sponsor each and every episode for our podcast show and series. And so let's take a look and see who our VIP sponsor is for today, you all. Let's take a look. Shout out again to our official sponsor for today's episode. Comes from none other than Fits for Kings and Queens. You can shop their African-inspired apparel line, and also we've even teamed up with them to highlight our Create and Shine collection series for this upcoming season. And so shout out again to Fits for Kings and Queens. You can visit them on Facebook at Fits for Kings and Queens, or you can go to their IG at Fits for Kings and Queens. But we appreciate you for sponsoring our episode for today. But back to you. We definitely want to pick up some of the pace in learning more about, like, what are some key things that you've learned about yourself with this current lockdown, and also like what can some people expect if their country or even potentially here in the US have to go through a lockdown. What are some key things that people can learn about themselves going into a lockdown?
Some of the things that I've learned about myself is that I'm very patient. A lot of people keep telling me that it's amazing how level-headed I am still after all this time. And I put a smile on my face every time I talk to my family. They're like, wow, how are you still so happy right now? I'm like, oh, I'm alive. I'm very positive. I'm very patient. And, I stand on my ground when it comes to my decision to stay here, and I don't let that affect me. I don't let judgment affect me as much, because I know why I'm staying in this situation, and I'm positive that things will turn around soon eventually. So that's what I've learned about myself. I think if other people experience this, I guess learn how they handle situations, stressful situations, and how they can deal with it. Really, it's a hard question to answer when it comes to someone else, because I don't know how they would respond to a situation like this. So many people are different. I have colleagues who left the minute Shanghai said they were having a lockdown. So it all depends on that person.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that you should do is make a decision and stick by it, and don't let anyone judge you for that decision. It's one of the things I've experienced since this whole thing started. It's a lot of judgment for my decision to stay in China. And sometimes that could affect you and make you question, oh, what's right for me? And at the end of the day, no one is experiencing what you're experiencing. And so when people comment about what you should and shouldn't do, they're commenting out of fear. And they're commenting out of lack of experience. So when that happens to you, just please trust yourself and trust that you're making the right decision for yourself.
Yeah, no, you hit a ton of jewels right there, Queen, when you're literally speaking about what your journey is does not pertain to other people's portrayal of your journey or even your purpose. And so we talk about that a lot on the show when it comes to staying in your own lane and not being swayed to or fro based off of what other people's opinions and even a lot of times their hate or jealousy is when it comes to your journey. And so like stay with that topic right there, like and being able to defend yourself mentally and even physically and even spiritually is what we'll even throw in when it comes to like the hate or even the ignorance of let's say people on the western side of the world, Americans or Europeans, when it comes to you being especially a Black queen, a Black woman out in Asia, and literally hearing some of the ignorance or the let's just say the hate or the fear mongering of people that don't know what it's really like living in China, especially like what are some of the things that you've had to educate or even had to turn the other cheek on when it comes to the ignorance or the foolery that you've heard in being a Black woman in China?
Well, I'll give you one thing: buffalo shooting.
Mm.
And it's not something to laugh about, but when people tell me, oh, China's racist and, why are you in China? It's a communist country. And I'm just like, I am 10 times safer here in China, despite everything that's going on with the lockdown, than I would be in America right now with all the gun violence going on, hands down. And even when I do say that and I point out those differences, people still don't get it because they're in a bubble, right? And especially I tell this to my family all the time. I'm like, I can walk outside with a hoodie on at 2 a.m. in the morning in an affluent neighborhood in China, and I do not worry about my safety in my life. I know for a fact, 1000% sure, I'm going to come home safely. And that you can't guarantee that in America. So that's one thing. Just safety alone is my number one reason for living abroad and living in China or anywhere outside of America.
Yeah, that's major, especially with all the recent, let's just call them massacres and specific targeted shootings that have been happening in 2022, despite consistently happening in the U.S. Like, how do people that are in China like view the U.S.? Like, let's give a microscope of friends that you've made that are Chinese, of course, not expats, but even
Mhm.
people that you've come across. Like, how do they view America? Just so some of our listeners can get a firsthand view from your experience and being in China as an expat.
So I can give you several comments that I've had from people who are not American that I've met over the years. With Chinese people, I've heard guns. I've met Chinese kids that I've taught who are just who said and I kid you not, said, I want to go to America so I can have a gun. Right
Wow.
now I just have a toy gun, but I would like a real one. These are
Mm,
kids who say this, Chinese kids
mm,
who've told me that. And it's crazy because here, kids play with toy guns and it's like nothing. And it scares the crap out of me. I don't know if I could curse. It scares the crap out of me when I see that. But here, guns are not a danger in this country. But if you go to America and I see a kid with a toy gun, I would tell them to put it away
mm.
because it's just a different culture. But that's what I got from like a Chinese kid, from friends that are like from Africa, for example. I've heard many things like, America's dangerous to Black people. And this is from Black people from a Black continent who's saying this. It's expensive. Like the cost of living is just too high. Why would I want to live there? Um, so it's really interesting to see that because before moving abroad, I have always had this image in my head that America was an amazing nation and everyone wants to come here. Why wouldn't you? It's America. And then I leave America and I hear all of these stuff from other people outside looking in. And I'm just like, huh, wow, that's interesting. That's a interesting perspective on how you see Americans in America. Oh yeah, and a lot of people think we're dumb.
Yeah, yeah. I could only imagine when it comes to. I
I've
could
gotten that too.
when it comes to the political arena that I'm sure the Chinese will look at this like a circus out here during election
Yeah,
season that's coming up when
yeah.
it comes to how they view Americans. And like tell us just for people who may not ever get the chance to get out to where you are in Asia, let alone China, like how is the media out there? Do they censor everything like we hear in US and also on the Western news outlets? Do you have to have a VPN out there to stay connected to any US based sites? Like, give us an inside track and how is the media and the news channels outlets in China?
So the media in China is very censored. If you are caught on any Chinese social media talking bad about the government, you will get it. The government will literally go inside that account and remove that content
Wow.
immediately,
Mm,
and your profile might be flagged.
mm,
We have foreign expat WeChat groups where the moderator of that WeChat group warns people not to talk about certain things in the group because the government can literally go into that group and like dismantle it.
mm.
Um, During this lockdown, there was a protest, an online protest of just like everyone in Shanghai protesting the lockdown and all the like horrors that have happened in recent weeks. The government went in and shut it down. Someone will repost it. The government came in, shut it down, repost, shut down, repost, shut down. The government will wipe out anything that's negative about what's happening here.
Wow.
So very, very censored. You have to be careful what you post. You can't post anything political. You just have to be careful what you write on social media, on Chinese social media. Now,
Mm,
as far as the access to other sites, in order for me to talk to you right now on this website, I needed a VPN. So if
mm.
I didn't have my VPN turned on, I wouldn't have access to this website. I wouldn't have access to Google, Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, and so many other American or Western websites out there.
Wow. And just educate people real quick to let them know what is a VPN. I know, of course, what it is from traveling,
Mm.
but tell people what is a VPN and why do you need it and how can one go about getting a VPN?
So a VPN, just what its purpose is to protect you, protect your privacy when you're browsing on the internet. So you could be physically in Dallas, Texas, for example. And if you turn on your VPN, you could change your IP, or I'm not really tech savvy, but your browser's location. So now to people who are trying to hack or get your privacy, now they think you're in like Switzerland. That's what a VPN does. It hides your browsing history. And how it works for China or countries that have a lot of censorship is it allows me access to things that a government in that country will prevent me from accessing. So, and it also hides my browsing history. So right now, I'm going to look at my VPN right now. Right now, my browser is saying that I'm in Los Angeles, USA, but I'm physically here in China. So it's hiding my browsing history. Can we pause? So
Yeah,
that's the testing. So I have to go take a COVID test right now, and they're knocking on my door. Okay.
absolutely. Go ahead. Take care of that.
I'll be right back.
All right. All right, y'all. Definitely it's real out in China, as y'all have been hearing. We definitely have to support one another, especially now more than ever during these times, especially you are hearing firsthand from my very special guest who is in Shanghai and literally talking to us about how she's been able to survive and even thrive. Let's just even put it out there, to thrive during the current lockdown. And so for those that are tuning in, if you have any questions for my very special guest, Shamira, put it in the chat, or even if you're on Wisdom, if you have any questions for my very special guest, come up on the stage and ask if you want to know firsthand knowledge of what is happening in China, and not just hearing from the news outlets or social, as we know, which is concentrated and even very much so scatterbrained here in the Western side of the world. But definitely make sure that you ask any questions or any and all questions before we finish today's interview. And so I know you said you have to actually do the testing process right now. So we wanted to give you your time if you needed it. But
no, it's quick. So literally, I have to wear my mask in order to answer the door, and then I have to show them a QR code, which is attached to my passport. It's basically my health monitor system that tracks everywhere I go in the country or the city, and I have to show them that. Then once they have that, they give me a tube. I open my mouth, they swab it, put it in the tube, and then I close the door. Really, really fast.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And you said it's daily testing since the lockdown. They come daily to test you, or is it?
They used to. So in the beginning, my building specifically, I have to be very careful how I speak, because not every person in Shanghai is experiencing what I'm experiencing. So in my building specifically, the committee, the people who are managing my building, were doing daily testing literally every single day before 10 a.m. I think they stopped daily testing after like 45 days.
Wow.
And then we started doing every 2 days, and now it's like every 3 days. So in my eyes, that is a good situation.
Yeah.
That we're not getting tested daily. So that means I guess my building is safer.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. And that's really good to know, especially for those that want to go out there. And then even with, of course, we got to talk about this because this is still a very controversial subject in the States from, of course, where you were born at, just like myself. Like, how is the mandate for the vaccine? Do you have to be jabbed to come out to China, even to teach in the school systems in Shanghai and going into certain locations? Do you have to show proof of being jabbed? Like, what's the talk on what's happening in Shanghai with the jab mandates?
Okay. So your first question, do you have to be vaccinated in order to come to China? To be honest with you, I do not know. Because I guess, and maybe I should know, but because I'm already in the country, it's not information that I am paying attention to because I'm already here.
Of course.
As far as like the mandate to get vaccinated, there is none.
Okay.
There's no mandate. It's up to you. They encourage it heavily. So
Mm-hmm.
like I think I waited like a year and a half before I got vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
and I was asked literally every month by my employer, "Hey, you want us to help you sign up for the vaccine?" Nope. You want me to help you sign up for the vaccine? Nope. So they will keep asking you, but it's not required. Um,
Mm.
when you go into schools, so I teach kindergarten. I was not vaccinated when I got hired at my recent kindergarten.
Mm.
But that wasn't something that prevented me from getting the job.
Wow.
Now, when I got hired, they did ask those questions. Hey, are you vaccinated? Will you get vaccinated? Oh, now the booster is here. Would you get the booster? And so far, I've been denying it, and they haven't really troubled me.
That's good. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
good because that's still a very controversial topic with election season here in the States. And even when I was literally trying to go out to Shanghai last year, they said, which I still think it is currently, that you do
Hmm.
have to be jabbed in order to come out there to get the visa, the
Hmm.
educational or the student visa to come out
Well,
there.
that actually makes sense coming into the country, but
Yeah.
people who are already here and have been here before everything, and haven't left, we have not been. I know people who still haven't gotten vaccinated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the only reason why I got vaccinated, because I denied it for a really long time. I did not want to take it. The only reason why I took it, it wasn't because I was pressured. It wasn't because it was mandated or my job told me I had to do it in order to work. I did it mainly because I thought the vaccine will allow me to travel easily around the country and
Yeah.
travel abroad and come back into China. And it didn't. So I actually regret getting it, but whatever, because it really doesn't help me.
Right. It's all good. We live and we learn. I know we talk about the jab a lot on the show. We don't shy away from jab conversations. I know
Yeah.
I'm anti-jab. I haven't got the jab. Don't plan on getting the jab, and I've still been looking to travel to different places. So whether you do or whether you don't, it's literally personal preference, as you said.
Right.
But we just wanted to see from your stance, like what are people saying with the vax mandates out in China. And so
There
like,
are none. There are
yeah,
no mandates.
so that's what she's letting us know firsthand. There are no mandates. You don't have to show your passport, vaccination booklet to get into certain establishments like some countries in Europe and also in America. So don't listen to the media hype that may try to portray a different story. You're hearing firsthand for today's episode, you all.
Yeah.
It's,
We are not being forced to take the vaccine. The only thing that they pressure us about is getting tested constantly and showing our health code wherever we go. That's it.
Yeah, that's so good to know. And then even for as we wind down shortly before we go into the final jewel, where we'll allow you to leave a final piece of wisdom with our audience that's listening today. Like, talk to us about like where are some of the highlights or places that you've gone to while being in China, and
Mhm.
also like tell us so people can get a little bit of an inside look from what you've experienced going to certain places in China.
So before and even after the pandemic, China, I've had some amazing travel experiences. I told you this before we started. China was never on a lockdown.
Mm.
We were never on a lockdown when the America and the Western countries were scrambling to figure out what the heck was going on with this COVID situation. People in China were chilling. We were actually living life. Everything was open. We were able to travel. Like, I think I took a month-long holiday, like vacation, for a whole month and traveled around the country in 2020. So, this is the very first time that a lot of cities in China are experiencing such strict measures after 2 years. So, for 2 years, we were fine.
Mm.
And I would say throughout the 2.5 years that I've been here, I have seen some amazing places that I don't think people would even imagine existed. China is a very multicultural, multi ethnic, diverse country. I mean, you have places that are just an island, beaches, sand, palm trees. And then you have places that are just city, tall buildings, financial buildings, buses, trains. And then you have places where it looks like the Sahara Desert. China is super diverse and it's beautiful. I've been to Sanya, which is basically coined the Hawaii of China. Um, I've been to like over 10, maybe 12 cities in China, and they're all very different geographically, ethnically, even the languages are different. So a lot of people think the only language spoken here in China is Mandarin Chinese, and it's not. Every city has their own sub-dialect, like a dialect of their own.
Wow, that's major right there. And I know you were in Fuzhou, where I was actually going to be placed at. So shout out to all the ones.
My favorite. I actually miss that city so much. I miss Fuzhou so much.
Yes, and they speak, just so our listeners can know, they speak Fujianese out there in Fuzhou, right?
Yeah, so it's one of the hardest dialects of the Chinese language. Even people who live in Shanghai, who were born and raised in Shanghai, don't understand people from Fuzhou. Yeah, because the dialect is so hard. Even I don't understand it. When I speak Mandarin like a beginner intermediate level Chinese, and even when was in Fuzhou and I spoke to a local, I didn't understand them and I had to tell them to speak Mandarin.
Wow.
And they switched. So everyone knows their local language and then the main language, which is Mandarin.
Okay, yeah. So we getting a geographical and cultural lesson. You all don't think that everyone speaks Mandarin over there. And then, before we go into the final, Jewel, we gotta have you talk to us about the technology out there. I know when I went to Korea, as I think I had told you when I came across your profile on IG, the technology scene out there made America look like we were literally in the Stone Age. When I saw how far advanced Koreans and also the Korean society was. And that's one of the main things I wanted to go out to China for, was to see the technology. And so let people know, just to educate them on what have you seen, especially since you've been over there technology wise, that's far advanced, and what has been the talk of what technology is going towards in China.
Well, technology is insane over here. Like you said, it makes America look like we're in the Stone Age. I can give you an example. Have yet to use my debit card here. In 3 years, I have never touched my debit card. It stays in my wallet, and I don't even carry my wallet with me. As long as I have my phone, that's all I need to live life in China is my phone. In order to get out of the subway, you need a phone. In order to enter the subway, you need a phone. In order to get a taxi, you need a phone. In order to pay for a taxi, you need a phone. Restaurants, phone. Grocery store, phone. Even to rent a bike, you need a phone. Everything. If you're out on the street and your phone dies, good luck if you don't know where the hell you are. No one uses cash. I remember my friend, her phone died or something, and we were at a bar, club or something like that. We were entering and we had to pay an entrance fee to get in. And there's a QR code. And she took out her cash. And I was just like, you got cash? Like, it's so weird to see cash here. And even the lady who was collecting the money laughed at her, because she was just like, you got cash? Like, who carries around cash? No one carries around cash. I can't remember the last time I actually took out cash since moving here. Maybe once, and that was because I was going abroad to the Philippines. So I wanted to do a money exchange. So yeah, I don't carry cash. I don't carry a debit card. Everything, if I want to pay for something, I use my phone. Even homeless people have QR codes where you can send them money digitally.
Wow. That's so cool out there, especially with the digital and advancements. We all know that that's where the future is headed, to be a cashless society, with what's about to come. And so, yeah, that's a major thing that is happening in Asia. And tell people, what is the currency out there? Like, how strong is the dollar. Do you know anything with the conversion with the dollar? How strong is it with that dollar?
It's not stronger than the American dollar, I can tell you that. But if you give me like 2 seconds, I could just look right now. Um, so $1 is $6, around $7 in RMB.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, it's not that strong.
Yeah. So you all are getting a lot of jewels that you're hearing from my very special VIP guest who's literally right now in Shanghai going through the current lockdown. And so, of course, you shared a ton of information. We know it's morning over there and we just had you for a short amount of time. But we
Yeah.
wanted to allow you to tell our guest a final jewel of wisdom that you would want them to know when it comes to surviving a lockdown, or even why it's important to mentally take care of yourself if your country or if your continent is locked down with any of the things to come. Like, what would be a final jewel of wisdom that you would leave with our audience today?
I guess be prepared. Know all the important context that you need to know. If you're in another country, know where the embassy is, know all the embassy numbers. Even though in this situation, like the US embassy can't really help us, but it's always good to know that information because you just never know. Make sure you stay in contact with other people who speak your language that it's experiencing the same thing, so you guys could communicate and get information from each other. And yeah, just stay positive, and if you have to make a decision about what you need to do, stick with it and move forward from there, and don't listen to anyone who is doubting you or naysayers.
I love it. That's an awesome final jewel. And how can people stay in touch with you? Let people know how we can support you, even if they want to give you some words of encouragement on social or anything like that. And I know you're also a businesswoman that is in the making. So tell us about what are some ways we can still tap in with you and stay connected to you while you're out in Shanghai.
Yeah, thank you. So you can follow me on Instagram at Shamira West. That's ShamirAWest. And then you can also read my blog if you are interested in just living abroad or teaching abroad. It doesn't have to be China. It could be elsewhere. I have some information on how you could get started, how you can go through the visa process at my website. It's www.shamirawest.com.
I love it. And y'all go and make sure you stay connected, stay involved with what she is doing out in China. You all go and follow at Shamira West, and also shamirawest.com to make sure you stay connected. We're going to say a quick, if it's okay, a quick blessing over you for coming on and sharing your jewels of wisdom with us. We thank you for taking time out of your morning. We know it's morning time over there. But before we do that, Smart Jewel listeners, if you've been blessed by today's episode, feel free to leave a seed and sow a seed with us. You're sowing into good soil with our podcast show. You can cash app us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can become a monthly Patreon with us for our podcast subscription, exclusive subscription access that we give to our Smart Jewels donors and supporters and partners that you see at the bottom of the screen. And so I'm gonna say a quick prayer over you and let you enjoy the rest of your day.
I appreciate it.
Yes, Father, yeah, I just want to thank you for allowing us to come together and just be able to have people know firsthand of what is happening over in Shanghai currently right now with the lockdown. From one of your daughters that you placed over there for a specific purpose to educate and also to elevate those who she comes across. We thank you for her talents, her gifts, and also for her vulnerability to share and give personal insight to how she's been surviving and thriving throughout this current lockdown. We know that many people are struggling with their mental and their physical and even their spiritual health during this time of year, but we thank you for allowing her to set some captives free, and also knowing how and what strategies can be put into place to also not let life get the best of them. We thank you and pray that you will bless her business, bless her hands, bless her ministry, and also even bless her time while she is still out in the eastern side of the world. I love you, Father. I praise you and I honor you. And it's in Yeshua HaMashiach, the Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you coming on, Queen. And definitely, I know after the lockdown, we'll definitely have to have you come back for a part 2. I know some people will want to hear from where your travels are, because I know you travel all throughout the Asian continent. And so definitely, if you're available, we'd love to have you back for a part 2. But thank you so much for coming on, Queen. And
yeah, I would love to come back. Thank you so much.
You have a great day. Peace.
Bye. Have a good night.
All right. All right, y'all. I'm going to do some final jewels for thought. You heard specifically from my very special guest who is in Asia currently right now, you all. And so don't believe the hype. Don't believe what everyone is saying on the media. Talk to people that are actually over there and get firsthand information so you don't sound like that ignorant American or that ignorant European. Talk to people that are there. Social media literally closes the gap of the distance of communication between borders, between continents, between seas. But we have to open our mouth and ask questions. But these are just some updates we're doing as we close for season 4. You can start your podcast or your live stream with us, with our service provider consultants that we have. And so you can reach new audiences by visiting www.smartjewelzenterprises.org to get started on your podcast today and get started with a free 30-minute consultation. We also have new merch, you all, that we just released for the Shine Bright Create and Shine collection. And so we partnered with Fits for Kings and Queens, and you can get your own Shine paraphernalia and your own Shine tea collections that we just launched to support our brand and our mission. And so go in and visit the link that we're putting in the comment section right now to visit Fits for Kings and Queens and literally support us another way by purchasing some Smart Jewels merch. We are on all podcast listening platforms. You all stay connected with us throughout our journey. We're taking this show international next year as we go to different countries and also to different continents, showing people how to travel and also live debt-free. And so stay tuned as we go to the next level and visit us again with our mothership that powers the RTJ show at www.smartjewelzenterprises.org to stay connected with us and to also get started. If you are creative or if you are needing a team around you that helps you with personal development, financial education, financial freedom strategies, and even health and wellness, we have resources to get you plugged in and to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be. But I'm your host, King Jewels. Those are all of my jewels for thought. Shout out to Shamira, who was able to drop a ton of jewels today and giving us direct insight into what is happening in Shanghai, China, currently right now. We thank that queen for coming on and dropping the jewels. And make sure you are staying connected and also receiving resources for your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health. You cannot neglect one of the three because all are vital towards our ultimate success. And so shout out again to those that are taking care of their mental despite what is happening in the media and all around the world right now. But I'll see you all next episode. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and peace.